like, Jacqui, that one about everything, everywhere, all at once, together, whatever. What was it called?
Did you never see that, Alex?
I did.
Everything. Oh, okay.
Yes. So what's it called?
What about it?
Everything, everywhere. Well, there's something in common between that and Bullet Train. There's a lot of. What, you didn't see that? You didn't think there was anything common between the two?
Not really.
Okay.
It's frenetic, but
yeah. Well, that's it. Now, there's so much stuff thrown at you that you don't believe. That's what I'm getting at. It's a really wild ride, Bullet Train, and the Japanese market. Look, they should lap it up. They will lap it up. It's a very long movie. It didn't need to be 126 minutes, and it's MA rated. And it basically starts like this: a young boy lies bloodied in a hospital bed. His grandfather berates his father for not looking after him. Then the action moves to an unlucky assassin played by Brad Pitt. And he is targeting a silver briefcase on a bullet train travelling between Tokyo and Kyoto. That might seem relatively straightforward, but the resultant plot, which links back to the kid in hospital, is anything but. At its core, vengeance. And we're talking about involving competing hired guns, trying to outsmart one another, and extreme violence. Mind you, because this is a comedic action thriller, the key protagonists, well, they could be knifed, they could be speared, they can be riddled with bullets, but dying, no, that's a long shot. That's the sort of movie that this is. And I suppose it has to be that way to maintain the frenetic pace that Bullet Train establishes. There's no let up. More and more and more is thrown at us. And as new characters are introduced, their names, well, they're writ large on screen, literally, right? They're sort of telemated. So you've got names like Tangerine, Lemon, the Hornet, the Wolf, Ladybug, and on it goes. There are also surprises aplenty and some noteworthy cameo appearances. It's been written by Zach Olkowitz, and it's based on a book of the same name that was written in 2010 by Kataro Osaka. The guy at the helm, David Leitch, he was also, of course, in charge of the violent actioner John Wick, and that marked his directorial debut. So, what I can say about Bullet Train is the production values are mighty impressive. It really is a stylish thriller, Dave, is it not?
It is, and I think it actually harks back to directors like Guy Ritchie. It has that real Guy Ritchie feel to it when you're watching the film. And of course, David Leitch, a lot of people are excited about this film coming out because he did the first John Wick and then hasn't done any of the others. And a lot of people who are fans of the franchise have said, not interested if Leitch is not involved with it. So this is really good to see him doing something else. I really, really enjoyed it. I did notice the length, though, I have to admit. It could have been shorter, but I love Leitch's style, and I love that Guy Ritchie-esque feel that goes all the way through this film as well.
Now, Peter, I have no idea what you're going to say about Bullet Train. I mean, it is nonsense, isn't it, in terms of plot?
Absolutely. Look, it's an over-the-top fantasy, and I must say the frenetic action, which, unlike Everything Everywhere All at Once, which had a real point to it and was very well-constructed film and very clever in many respects, this one, Bullet Train, is just part of this new genre or subgenre of films like The Grey Man and a number of others, where you have lots and lots of action, violence, mayhem, and people not dying and resurrecting and all sorts of things happening without really very much point to the storyline. So, I mean, it is enjoyable in the sense that the production values are quite superb, and especially seeing Brad Pitt floating in the train at one stage.
That's highly plausible, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's just total reality. Yeah. But it's good to see Sandra Bullock. It's good to see a whole range of Asian actors in there as well. Look, there's much to admire in the film in terms of its production, but very little to admire in terms of the five assassins trying to outdo one another and seeing who survives at the end, which is also predictable and repetitive and lacks, I think, a particularly strong storyline.
Yeah, I would agree. What about you, Greg? Did you like it or not?
This is actually one of those films that actually improves on the book. I read the book a few months ago, and it was a bit hard to make sense of it, what was going on there. I thought the film made it a lot more understandable there. And I like the way David Leitch has mixed comedy with the violence there, and the jokey relationship there. I like the way that some of these characters and their quirky foibles were brought to life by the ensemble cast there. In the book, most of the characters are obviously Japanese. Here they're played by a top-notch cast of Caucasians there. Didn't bother me at all there. And as you mentioned before, great production design and cinematography and editing by Leitch's regular collaborators there to give it a frenetic pace. It runs up the rails at the end, literally.
Yes, it does.
But I thought it was quite good, and I agree with Dave. It's got that sort of Guy Ritchie feel about it as well, with the way it sort of unfolds and it's fast-paced there. And I like the relationship between Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry as the sort of assassins Lemon and Tangerine, who I thought their byplay and repartee added something to the film.
Yeah, I mean, they're touted as being twins. Of course, they're not. They're brothers in arms. That's probably the best way.
They're actually adopted brothers.
They're adopted brothers, yeah. Well, I mean, I've got to say that I struggle to actually understand them because they've got this Cockney accent, haven't they? And they bicker. But did you understand all they were saying, Greg?
Got the gist of it, which is all you needed. All you needed because basically, flashbacks gave us all the backstories of all these various characters, where they're coming from.
Jacqui, did you understand them?
Yes, I didn't have any trouble understanding them.
Was I the only one that Nadine and I, Nadine being my wife, we both looked at each other and said, "Huh? What?" There was.
You don't watch enough British comedy on TV, perhaps.
But did any of the rest of you have trouble with the accents? No. Okay, so it must have been us.
Maybe you needed that woman from Flying High who could speak jive to help you here, Alex.
Very, very good.
Have you got a problem with a Cockney accent, Governor?
Yeah, exactly. Now, okay, so Jacqui, you being a very unusual individual, did you like Bullet Train?
No, I didn't like Bullet Train. I really loved Bullet Train.
No.
It was great fun. I mean, come on, lighten up. It was a comedy. Okay, it was violent and it was an action film, but it was basically a comedy, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
I love a comedy. I laughed out loud.
But hang on. You don't know. Let's be honest. There's a lot of French comedy you don't like.
Yeah, well, that's not good comedy. This was good comedy. This was funny comedy. This was dark comedy.
Okay.
It was, the language in this was fabulous, and I don't think any of you yet have mentioned Brad Pitt in detail.
No.
Like, such a great character, this kind of almost...
He plays Ladybug, we should say. That was one of the...
Ladybug.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, the story all kicks off with him, and he's kind of this laid-back, almost hippie style, sort of, what am I doing here kind of, personality. And it was, I mean, he's the linchpin for the whole film. He's really funny, but so many in the cast have great individual roles. I couldn't even name them all, but even and I would have liked to have seen more Japanese in the cast as well, but the Asians who were in there, it did come out with quite interesting little quirky personalities, such as the girl pushing the trolley through with the food and snacks on board. No, there wasn't a lot I didn't like, but I had to look away once or twice with the violence, which I certainly equated to a Guy Ritchie in my own mind. But it was the language. It's a really good script. It was very funny. You know, I'm not Carver. I'm just filling in. Brad Pitt says, I'm just filling in, and he's gone through all this. And if you're going to mention, Peter, the slow motion of Brad Pitt or Ladybug going through the train towards the end, you've also got to mention the way that it was almost the whole film was replayed fast forward from the point of view of the water bottle. I mean, that's genius. It was funny. Do you remember that? That was so funny.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. That was so creative.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
and you talk about the point of the storyline. The story is quite clear. There's a lot of narrative going on. Probably too much. It got a bit confusing. I didn't really care about that. I just really enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that you've got visually, it's one heck of a good-looking rooster. Some of the tricks they pull, quite breathtaking. And musically, I love that beginning. You got a Japanese version of the Bee Gees hit "Staying Alive."
You also had a Japanese version of "Holding Out for a Hero."
Yeah, so, you know, again, it's obviously playing to the market that it's likely to absolutely captivate, which is a good thing. I mean, I reckon the actors are being told to have fun. That's the starting point, and they do. There's no question. Some of the one-liners are very, very clever, and I just still say trying to make sense of the totality of this nonsense is hardly easy. Greg, you had the advantage that you read the book, right?
But as I said, the film made it much clearer and was much better than the book.
Well, but okay, as somebody who hadn't read the book, I still didn't think I understood the totality of it. But
did it matter, Alex? It didn't really matter, did it?
I'm giving it really high marks because of the creativity involved, the production values. It's escapism personified. That's what it is. And I mean, I do relate it back to John Wick and the violence and so forth. But you've sort of got to treat it as cartoon violence, don't you, Jacqui?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we saw that even in the actual characters had almost a Joey King playing Prince. She was almost a cartoon figure, wasn't she?
Yeah, caricatures. Yeah, they are. That's the sort of. But look, there is a lot to appreciate. I still would have liked to have understood the story a bit better than I did. So that's just me.
But, see it again, Alex. Go and see it again.
No, I think I'll see the 2000 Essendon Premiership. Can we see that again? That'd be worthwhile. Let's get a score out of 10, guys. Start with you, Peter. We're talking Bullet Train, MA rated 126 minutes.
It had some amusing moments. The production design was very good. I still think the storyline didn't particularly hang together very well. So overall, I give it 6 out of 10.
Fair enough. What about you, Gregory King?
I'll give it 7.
Mm-hmm. Dave Griffiths?
Yeah, I'm going with a 7 as well. I'm like Jacqui. I did laugh out loud at times and I found myself entertained, but I think it did run just a little bit too long.
Yep, I'm giving it a 7 as well. So Jacqui's going to be the high watermark, I'm sure about this. Go for it, Jacqui. Bullet Train.
Oh, sorry, you're going to say I'm over the top, but I had a really good time, and I think that people, the audiences will flock to this and really enjoy it. I gave Bullet Train 8.5.
Oh, my golly. Wow.
Oh, my golly. Yeah, that's how much I enjoyed it.